The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Thinking Strategically About Quality Management. My name is Renee Alanis. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager here at TechExcel. TechExcel is proud to host our 2014 webcast series. We hold informative interview webinars, just like today, on various topics about once a month throughout the year. You can check our website for upcoming webinars. A little logistics today before we begin today's presentation. I encourage all of you to use the question function. It's located in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Just type in your question and we'll answer them at the end of today's discussion. And if for some reason your question is not answered due to time, we will follow up with you individually. So rest assured we will cover all questions. We plan to conduct a poll today. Once the poll is launched, you'll be able to just click your answer in the poll tab and handle that, and then we can look at the results. As a reminder, today's webinar is being recorded, and we will send out a link to the recording to all attendees after this presentation, so you'll get to see the PowerPoint and the recording. Now I'd like to introduce today's speaker, Vineet Agarwal. Vineet is the DevSuite Product Manager. Welcome, Vineet.
Thank you, Renee. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. So in this 45-minute session, we'll discuss about the common issues faced in the quality management process, and then we'll also see how we can strategically think about the quality management process right from the start of the product requirements, and then go through the development and the testing. So this webinar is again recorded, so you will have a copy of this webinar and this presentation once we finish this webinar. And for any questions, we'll answer any question at the end of this webinar. So let's go over some of the issues with quality management, and then we'll see how we can address these issues using our DevSuite tool and the DevSlash tool in particular. So the first is the higher product quality across multiple environments. So with the growing demand of having the product to support across multiple devices and multiple platforms, if you have a software product, then it is required that you support it across multiple browsers and across multiple mobile devices. If you have a gaming software, then it is essential that you support across multiple gaming consoles. So higher product quality is expected, and then it is also essential that you run your test coverage should cover all these multiple environments. The next issue in quality management is that the product requirements team and the test cases and the quality management teams are not necessarily in sync. So once the product requirements are drafted, the test cases are not created as per the product requirements, which basically leads to untested requirements and not having the complete coverage for your requirements or for your product. The next is the identifying test cases that need to be rerun. So in the modern day web development or software development or even hardware development, there are components and there are a lot of modules that need to be reused over and over across multiple products or across multiple releases. So it becomes a little difficult for the quality management team to identify that what are the specific set of test cases that need to be reused or that need to be rerun. So we'll address that issue as well. The next is the lack of quality management analytics. So due to that, the quality management team does not have the ability to, or they lack the tools to analyze their release and the test plans and see what are the quality results and how their product is doing or what is the quality of their product. Last but not the least, the issue with quality management is that once the QA team or once the quality management team runs all the tests are not necessarily logged, and the development team is not aware of the bugs or even if the bugs are reported, the development team does not have enough information to reproduce the bugs or to identify the bugs. So these are some of the common issues, and we'll go over these issues one by one, and we'll see how we can address it using our tool. Topics covered throughout this webinar would be the benefits of the test cases and reuse and standardization. So I'll walk you through how you can create a set of test cases, and then how you can reuse it across multiple products or multiple releases. Then I'll show you how we can create a test case, shortcuts for multi-level analysis, basically how you can break down your products into multiple folders and how you can organize your test library. Also, I'll walk you through the entire steps of running a test, executing a test, and then developing a new test assignment, and how we can select a test coverage, and how we can select a set of test cases that need to be part of a specific release. Then I'll show you some of the planning tools and the matrix that get generated after you run the test. And also, one of the most essential parts in quality management is I'll show you how you can actually create test cases directly from your requirements, so that you can make sure that all your requirements are covered and you have enough test cases to run all the features and to test all the features. So just a quick overview of our DevSuite offering. So DevSuite is an application lifecycle management product line by TechXL. So it is an end-to-end solution. It comprises of requirements, planning, project planning, and implementation and defect tracking, and then the QA test management. So for this particular webinar, we will be focusing mostly on the test part, the quality management part, and then I'll briefly touch upon how you can create test cases in DevTest from the requirements management piece, and then how we can automatically submit bugs into the development projects. So let's switch to the demo, and let me get started with showing you the DevTest tool. So a DevTest tool is basically organized in terms of the test cases, where you manage all your test cases and the test library, and then the second part of the DevTest tool would be to actually execute those test cases across multiple environments and log your test results. So on the left-hand side, if you see, I have a detailed product structure, or what we call it as a test library, which actually stores the set of test cases that you create. So I can break down this test library into multiple products or multiple applications. So as you see, I have 3 different kinds of applications that I am currently tracking, and each of these applications are then is then further broken down into I'm sorry, just logged out. Okay, going back to my testing tool, and so each of my product lines is further broken down into multiple child folders for better organization of my test cases or test templates. So the first thing in the quality management process that you do is you create the test library structure. And then once you have the structure in place, you start to populate each of these folders, or I would say each of these components or modules with the set of test cases that you see are listed on the left or on the right. Now these set of test cases are actually created, can be created directly into the DevTest tool, like a standalone test case. Or you could also create the test case directly from the requirements. So since we are talking about connecting the requirements and the testing team, so let's just create a few test cases directly from the requirements. So this is the option that I would choose. I would just take some of the requirements from my customer request folder, and let's say I take my spec number 1, 2, and 3 in here. So now I have simply created my 3 test cases right from my requirements. So now my requirement team know that we have the test cases created and the testing team is on point to test the right set of features. So once I have these test cases created, I can enter additional information for my testing team. So I can enter the test procedure, I can specify the expected results, and also if I have any template attachments, I can make this attachment as well. So without going into the details of specifying the additional information for these test cases, I want to focus on how you can actually manage these test cases and how you can reuse these test cases across these multiple products. So there are a lot of times there are use cases where a single set of test cases are required to be run across multiple products. So the easy way to do in DevTest is that you can select the entire folder or entire product line, or you could just select a few test cases that you need to reuse, and you can simply create a shortcut in another product line. So you can simply say, so let's say I have a set of test cases under my customer requirements. Now these same set of test cases under my customer requirements need to be run as part of the enterprise application as well. So what I would do is create a shortcut, go to my enterprise application, and create a shortcut for that. So the team members managing the enterprise application product now have the same set of test cases in them, and they can simply select test case. They can update the status of the test case, and then the same updates will be seen by the test cases under the business application. So this way, you can just have a standard set of test cases, and that can be reused across multiple products or across multiple modules. Okay, so at this point in time, I would like to launch the poll question and understand what are the different solutions that you guys use for test case management. So, Rene, can you help launch the poll question?
Okay. Would you like me to read that?
Yes.
So, okay. So what solution? So we were curious if you participate in this poll. You can say, what solution do you currently use to manage test cases? So you can click DevTest, Quality Center, Excel spreadsheets, other, or maybe you use none. You can go ahead and launch your poll, and we will leave it open for a couple more minutes. For 1 more minute.
Okay, there's a high percentage using the other tools.
Okay, I'm about to close the poll. And there you see, Vineet, you want to talk about these results?
Yeah. So, like 40% of the people use some other solution, 24%, which is a high use Excel spreadsheet, 17% already use DevTest, and 12% Quality Center. So based on these results, I would just like to point out that our DevTest tool also has, the functionality of directly importing your test cases from your spreadsheet or from your, other tools, so that you can just have a single place where you can manage all your test cases as well as you can manage the test execution of those test cases as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. Okay, thanks everyone for taking the poll. Going back to our demo. Okay, so once we have created our test library, and once we have defined that what are the set of test cases that need to be reused, the next step in quality management is to really execute those test cases. So before that, before I start the execution, I just want to update the status of the selected test cases so that I approve them before I execute, and then just approved it. So once the test cases have been approved, the next is to actually run these test cases across multiple environments and then update the update the statuses for each of these test cases. So we'll see how we can add these new test cases as part of the release coverage, and then how we can actually execute these test cases. So let's switch to a different view. So in the execution view, we have the test execution, and the test execution is again broken down into multiple products, and each of these products will have its own set of release plans and the test cycles to actually execute the set of test cases that we originally created. Now, in terms of also reusing the test cases, you can actually have a single test case run across multiple of these products and multiple of these releases as well, depending on the environment variables. So let me select one of my existing release cycle that is currently running, and let me add the coverage to that particular to this particular release cycle. So let me click on this. I will just go to my release coverage summary. So this shows basically that these are the set of tests that need to be run as part of this particular release. Now I will just add my set of new test cases that we just added. So add coverage. These are the environment variables across which I would be running my test cases. So I would just select all of them. I would want to run it across Android, iOS, Mac OS, and Windows 8 platform, and across multiple browsers. And then I would simply select my folder that I need to run, and inside my folder, if you notice, I have these three test cases that I just created. And I would just, if I scroll down, so based on the release coverage and the test cases are selected, and also based on the multiple environment variables, I have a set of test tasks that will be part of this release. So I'll just finish this and add my coverage. So now I've added those set of test cases to my release coverage. The next step is to create a test cycle and to actually execute those set of test cases, or just a subset of those. So I will just do new test cycle, and let's say I want to create a test cycle 2. This is the applicable defect project. So any test that failed under my test cycle 2 would be the bugs would be submitted under this development project. So in this test cycle, I just want to run my product across the Android platform and for Chrome browser iOS, for Chrome Mac OS, and for Chrome Windows 8. I just want to run my test cases across these 4 variables. Next, and then I just select what are the test cases that I need to run. I don't need to run everything. So I'll just select the 3 new test cases that we have created. At this point in time, the test cycle also provides you the ability to run regression tests. So let's say in the new test cycle that I'm creating, if I want to add all those tests that were failed previously, so I can simply do add coverage using a query. So I will say give me all the tests that were failed previously or that were blocked, and I will search for that. And once I do that, I can see my another test case has already been checked, just because this particular test case had failed in my previous test cycles. So I'll just click next. So based on my selection and my test cycle coverage, I have a set of 16 tasks that would be executed as part of my new test cycle. I will just want to click that. Now I have my test cycle 2 created along with the testing tasks spin-off. So now as I run all my tests, I would want to update the progress status of these. So I can either do a bulk update. I can say that, okay, everything on the Chrome browser passed. So I can simply say edit, and I can say everything passed here. Similarly, I can update the progress status of each and every testing task and indicate my pass and fail criteria. So let's say my one of my test cases or the testing tasks have failed. So I'll just say fail and save. If you notice, as soon as I fail my test case, I have an automated way to actually submit a defect, and I will get an option to either create a new defect in my development project, or I could even search for an existing defect, or I could simply associate this defect to an existing one. So let's just create a new defect here. And while I'm creating, I have set up my system in such a way that my fields would be mapped from my dev test system to my tracking system. So I have the same title here. The type is already selected as bug. The platform is Android Chrome because this particular test failed on these variables. Here I can just say steps maybe to repro the issue, and here I can, the QA team can specify the steps that need to be taken to for the developer to reproduce this issue. I can make any attachments for my bugs, and then simply submit this. So now under my link session, I can see that for my failed test, I have a bug created in my in my development project, and as soon as the bug is created, my development team will be notified that a new bug has been submitted from the quality team, and they can simply look at the details of this bug and have a conversation with the testing team to reproduce the issue, or maybe to in order to fix the issue. Okay, so once we have all the testing tasks created, the next step is to actually view the analytics as to what is the pass percentage, what is the fail percentage, and basically get the matrix of your testing test. So I'll just select my product because I want to see the matrix across all my releases and all the different test cycles that I have created. Switch to my planning detail, and in the summary I can see that for my content sharing manager product, I had 65 tasks assigned, and this is the percentage of tasks that were completed, along with the pass and failed and incomplete percentage and a breakdown of individual test cycles. I can further view these analytics for individual team members, or I can view it simply based on the environment variables. So if you are testing a product, you can easily view the matrix for your multiple environments, and you can see the pass and fail percentages for each of these. So like you can see that 53%, there is a 53% pass criteria for Mac OS Chrome, and maybe 100% fail criteria for IE on iOS, and so on and so forth. So you can, based on these metrics, you can actually take informed decision as to what needs to be changed, or if there is a if there is something that needs to be changed in the requirement itself. Apart from viewing the quick summary directly in this view, we also have a dedicated reporting. So for each of the test cases and the testing tasks, you can actually view different kinds of graphical reports, and you can view the real-time analytics for the test cases that you have run. So like I have some pretty fancy reports here, and also if I switch to my task report, I can, if I go to my test cycle status report, I can see that I can see a summary of all the test cycles that I have run so far for a particular product line, and then I can see it graphically with the breakdown of each of these states. Okay. So if you notice, as a quality management process, we have covered how we can reuse the test cases, how we created the test cases directly from the requirements, and then how we actually executed these test cases. But it is highly possible that once you have created the test cases from the requirements, the requirement team actually goes ahead and make some changes to those requirements, and then those changes are not necessarily communicated to the testing team, and the testing team is still actually just testing the old set of requirements instead of the modified ones. So as part of the entire DevSuite offering, we have an integration in place wherein you can actually automatically trigger a flag to the testing team as soon as the original set of requirements have been modified. So let's see. These are the three requirements that we had used to actually create the test cases, because here if you see I have the test cases, the number of test cases displayed here. And let's see, if I just create one of these, I say new requirement added. Okay. So as soon as I add a new requirement, I need my testing team to be notified that a new requirement has been added, and this also needs to be tested. So as soon as I submit this, I will get a automatic change flagging event, which will actually show the flags being triggered for all the associated test cases. So let's say I just want to trigger a flag only for this particular test case or these test cases. Okay, and then okay. So as soon as a flag is generated, the testing team will be notified. As soon as they log in into their into the testing portal, I can see a flag being generated for my test case, which basically indicates that the original set of requirements have been modified, and so the test cases also need to be modified. So if I select one of these test cases, and I can easily view what was the flag that got that was generated. And once I click on that, I can see that a new requirement has been added, and I can view that. I can say that okay, I acknowledged the change. I can click that. So as soon as I acknowledge the change and I close the flag, I can see that it turns green, and now the requirements team also gets notified that okay, the quality assurance team has notified or has updated has acknowledged the change. Okay. Let's switch back to our testing here. So also, as part of the quality management process, it is important that the test cases might have a different set of expected results or expected steps. So you can even, as an advanced user, you can choose to specify multiple steps for each of the test cases. So like I have a sample test case in here, which is the web subversion integration, and I have multiple steps specified just for the single test case. So while I'm actually executing these tests, I can actually update the status for each of these individually, and I can specify that whether this step passed or whether this step failed. And then I can set up some dependency or automation rules wherein I can say that if a particular step fails, then you need to fail the entire test case itself. Once I fail the test case, it will go through the entire process of again submitting a new defect to the development and the development team being notified about it. Okay. Lastly, as part of the quality management process, reporting itself is a major piece of quality management. So, as I showed, all the reports are graphical reports, and you can easily export those, export all the reports in different formats like PDF or an Excel format, and you can perform further analysis on those reports as well and on the test data. Okay. So this basically covers the dev test tool and how you can actually strategically think about quality management as part of your QA process, and then how dev test can help you to overcome some of the most common issues in quality management. We'll take a few questions now, and then let's see.
Vineet, we do have some questions, a
Sure.
couple questions, and then like I said, if we don't get to every question, we will follow up with you at the end. But one question is, how do you import your existing test cases?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay. So basically, the dev test tool allows you to import all your test cases from 3 different formats. So you can either choose to use a text format or an XML format or simply your Excel sheet. So during the poll, I noticed that 24% of people actually still use Excel spreadsheets to manage their test cases. So for them, it is simply create a test library and select a specific product or a module that they want to import the test cases in, and they can choose the import-export function, and they can simply choose the import from Excel file. The advantage of importing from Excel file is that you can actually also map the fields in your Excel sheet to the fields in dev test. So, for example, if you have a if you have a field called state in your Excel sheet, you can map that to the state field in dev test, and you can also map the values one-on-one. So, if you have an approved state in dev test and a committed state in your Excel, you can map that too. So when the values are transferred, it will match those values as well.
Okay. This going with regard to that, can test cases support HTML or images?
Yeah. So all our editing fields actually support rich text. So if you see, we have a WYSIWYG editor for all our test description, test procedure, expected result. So if your existing test cases contains any embedded images or any specific formatting with bullets or with numbers, those will be imported as it is into the dev test tool.
Okay, and people are wanting to know, what version of dev test are you using?
So I'm using the dev test version 5.3, which is our latest version, and yeah, for all our prospects, we already have a beta release, out, so you can actually take a first look at the new features that we are offering as part of 5.3, and in just next 2 weeks, we're going to have a production build, production-ready version for dev test and for Dev Suite as well.
Right, which we will also conduct a webinar for Dev Suite 9.3, which will include the new dev test as well. I have another question for you. Can we plug in Selenium automation script? Is the architecture open?
Sure. So yeah, integrating with the third-party tools or integrating with automated tools has been the biggest questions from most of our customers. So in the market, if you notice, we have a lot of automation tools and a lot of other quality tools as well that customers use, and they don't really want to get off that tool. So what we offer is we have a fully documented web API. So we have RESTful APIs, we have Perl APIs that the customers can use, and then it's on the customers to choose what kind of they want to integrate with, and they can simply integrate a dev test tool with any of the tools that they choose using the using the APIs that we offer.
Okay. And I think that if we missed your question, we will get to you very soon. But I want to thank everyone for attending today. I want to thank you, Vineet.
Sure.
I don't know if you have any other closing remarks, but go for it.
Yeah, I mean, just that, this was a very brief overview of the strengths that DevSuite provides or DevTest provides, but I'll be happy to answer any questions you have, and then I'll be, we can take that one-on-one, and if you have any specific questions, I can also send you a recorded demo of answering those questions.
I'd like to let everyone know you can also follow Vineet on Twitter. He is DevSuitePM, and he will also post tips and tricks on using DevTest and different products within our system, as well as what's going on in with ALM and ALM tools and development tools in general. Thank you very much. We will be sending out the recording to everyone in the next couple of days, and feel free to reach out if you have any other questions. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.